Hi everyone, this is Steve Lynskey on Face to Face on OneWrestling.com, and this week I've got a very special guest. He's a former promoter and recently has just been turned into a quite successful book author. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Greg Lambert. Greg, how you doing?
How are you doing, Mr. Lynskey? Long
I,
time no see. How's
I know
things?
it's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a few years,
It's
let's
been a
say,
while.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the last show I worked for you, but I think I didn't work after you after that. So, but how have you been?
I don't remember either, to be honest.
How have
It
you
was that
been?
memorable. How am I? I'm doing great. Yeah, really good, really good. I'm just really happy that I've been asked to do this for OneWrestling.com. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is great. It's because you wrote some sort of book, led to believe.
I have indeed. I've written a book about British wrestling, and
Awesome.
would you like to see it?
Yeah, show us.
I'm really proud of it. This is the first copy. I got this copy sent to me a few days ago, and here it is. Ta-da!
The Holy Grail, the true
Holy Grail.
story of British wrestling revival. So
Absolutely.
Can
Look at these handsome individuals on the front cover. You'll recognise a few of these people, I'm sure.
I think I've dropped their names many a time. Yeah, there's Bret Hart there and Mick Foley, Alex Shane, and a real ugly fella. It's Douglas Williams. That is great. No, you're shaking your head.
I think you're beautiful, Doug.
Of course you will.
I've always thought that. Yes,
So
that's it. That's the book. Yes.
Come on, tell us. Because what made you decide to? Oh, I'm just going to go write a book.
I think I started about 3 years ago. It's taken me 3 years to write it, and I think it was because initially that I had a bit of frustration, I think, about the way the FWA ended, and I just wanted to get that out, I think, and tell my side of the story. But it kind of developed from there, and then I thought, well, it's a period of wrestling history that's really important, and nobody's written about it before. And if I don't write about it, I'm worried that nobody will, and then the story will get lost. So, yeah, that's really what.
And what a story, Greg.
What a story, wasn't
What a
it?
story. I mean, like when I would suppose, where did we meet? How many years ago? Well, I mean, obviously it's quite a few years ago now, but
It's in the book. It is in the book, Steve. When we first met, we met at FWA Crunch.
yes.
And this is my journalistic memory for dates coming out here. We met on March the 16th, 2003. Actually, no, do you know what? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We met before that. Because you did the ring job for Dan Reed's show, didn't you?
I was along for the ring job for Dan Reed's show. Yeah, that was. And if I remember rightly, I remember Loki was on that show.
That's correct. Yeah.
Versus the big Norwegian lad.
He wrestled the big Norwegian lad, then he wrestled the five-way in the main event against Doug Williams, Robbie Brookside, Johnny Storm, and Jody Fleisch, I think it was.
I think so.
Oh, no, maybe it might be Five-Star Flash.
Five-Star Flash, yes.
That's right. But yeah, no, that's when we first met, and we first worked together at Crunch 2003 for FWA. Yeah. So, and it's all in the book. All these stories are in the book.
Should I be worried?
Should you be worried? No, well, this is what's really strange. Being the journalist, this is normally my job. Interviewing, asking questions, and
that's right.
The boots on the other foot. But for the book, we had a chat, and you gave me some of your memories and some of your opinions, controversial opinions, I think.
Yeah, of course. I was a controversial referee.
Exactly. We wouldn't expect anything else.
But that's great. So, I mean, as this writing the book sort of like brought a closure to your because obviously we know you don't promote anymore. You've said there was a lot of issues or worries. So has this brought a closure to that? Have you been able to write it all down, get it off your chest, and now think, yeah, I can live with that. I can,
Definitely. I mean, the main thing as well about the book, and I noticed that John Atkins, the former ring announcer, has read the book. One of the first, I think, of the FWA, the old FWA crew, to read the book, and he said the same thing. It brings back a lot of really positive memories as well, of real nostalgia for the FWA, because the FWA was very much you know, in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion, British wrestling's answer to ECW. I would say, you know, it was a British wrestling promotion that came along at the start of this century that did things in a very new school kind of way, you know, maybe copying the American indie promotions and bringing that style over to Britain, and bringing a really exciting style of wrestling, a fast-paced and revolutionary style, and some of these great sort of, I call them the golden generation of American independent wrestlers like AJ Styles and Low-Ki, you mentioned before, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. All these guys were brought over to Britain, a lot of them for the first time by the FWA about 10 years ago, when they were kind of only known to the smart wrestling fans. They weren't sort of the big names that they are today. And FWA was groundbreaking, and it was amazing to be part of that, and writing the book and going through the whole history of it again. It just brought it all back, and it's a brilliant time of my life. Despite how things ended,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. I mean, it's the peak years and being involved in that whole roller coaster experience is what I'll always remember.
We're going to say, yeah, I mean, there were some quite dramatic moments within the FWA. Like you say, I don't think we've spoken about this before. I mean, to me, FWA success led to its failure, really, because it was very much catered for the internet. People would go on the internet, and it's like, if you look at the UKFF now, it's nothing to what it was when Mark Sloan first started that. Well, I mean, at least the FWA section, and I think the UKFF in general really was much bigger, market back then, and it was all catered for people going on the internet saying we want to see this person or we would like to see this, and FWA catered for that. I mean, you were behind the scenes, so I mean, you were a big part of that as well. I mean, do you think that's quite a correct way of seeing that, or am I way off base, or
No, I think you're right. I mean, when I started, I mean, it's all. I mean, in the book, I talk about how I got started in wrestling, and I had a very, very unusual start in professional wrestling. I mean, I wasn't a trained wrestler or performer in any capacity. I never had any training at all, and just kind of got looked into it or got handpicked or whatever you want to call it. And when I first started out, I mean, I started out listening to the TalkSport radio show, which is how the book begins. You know, the old Talk Wrestling radio show with Alex Shane and Tommy Boyd.
Yeah.
And I used to go on the internet on a Saturday night, and I used to interact with the show, and then I used to go on the UK fan forum, and I thought that's what you did. Yeah. I just thought this is British wrestling, because there seemed to be a lot of people on there, kind of thing. And the FWA, when I got involved, I realised that it did very much cater to the internet audience, and the internet fans sort of saw the FWA. This is our promotion, which was at the time a good thing, like you say. Later on, when the FWA had gone about as high as it could possibly go, and I think pretty much British Uprising. No, maybe Hotwire 2004. I think I've sort of pinpointed that in the book. The Danny Williams show.
Yeah.
I would say that was the peak of the FWA, and then some people may disagree. Some may think it peaked well before that, but I would say that was the peak. After that, when it started going downhill, the quality of the shows dipped off. The internet fans started to, because they, I think, had been a little bit spoiled by what the FWA was doing.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Started to criticise it a bit. And then when you're only catering to those fans, when you lose that fan base, you haven't got anything else. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I realised sort of about a year into being involved in wrestling that there's a lot more to promoting a British wrestling show than just going on and catering to a forum or catering to, the internet. You've got to target those casual wrestling fans, the families, the kids. Do what Brian Dixon has done so successfully for over 40 years,
Over 40 years, yeah. And it's, it's a very simple premise, really. Get out there, poster and things. But like you say, back then, and I mean, when I came up and did a few of your Morecambe shows, when you realise it was like, well, do you know what? There were still those internet fans I saw a lot more like local people and people, that you didn't see coming down to Broxbourne or coming to the Coventry, Skydome shows or anything like that. So
Yeah.
you knew then, because you obviously catered to that side of things. So
I was starting to realise, yeah, definitely. I mean, the first Morecambe show, British Breakout Tour, April 2003, with Doug Williams, Juventud Guerrera headlining. You getting thrown out of the ring, Steve Lynskey, and getting injured and helped backstage. I believe you weren't very happy with that tour, but I'm sure it was a legitimate injury, Steve. I'm sure it was. You wouldn't be trying to get off the tour deliberately. I don't believe what people said to me. That's not you. No way.
I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, couldn't possibly comment. But I remember sitting ringside for that because I was ring announcing that night because John Atkins was late, bless him. He was at Cleethorpes and he was stuck on a train trying to get from Cleethorpes to Morecambe. And the first two matches on the show, FWA used to do babyface versus babyface down south, whether it was Jody Fleisch versus Jerry Lynn or AJ Styles versus Johnny Storm. They did it and they did it brilliantly. Good guy versus good guy. Did it in Morecambe, in front of a seaside town, cheesy little seaside town, my hometown, Lancashire Riviera. I was sat right behind this little kid, right? I was sat behind this little kid. Second match on the show, Flash Barker, love him to bits. What a guy. Jack Xavier, absolutely the same. Great, great bloke. Two faces wrestling each other. I remember as clear as day, and it's in the book. The kid turns around to his dad and goes, "Who do we cheer for?" And that just hit home to me. It's like, this audience doesn't want to see. Stevie Knight used to say to me, most wrestling fans want to see cowboys
And
versus
Indians.
Yes. That was cowboy v cowboy. No one wants to see John Wayne fight Clint Eastwood.
No. But there are circumstances like
fans didn't.
No, not Morecambe. Not your like you say, not your seaside town. I mean, I obviously come from a seaside town as well, like Bridlington on the East Coast. So I was privy to wrestling every week, excuse me, growing up into that. And it's one of them things. You didn't want to go and see two the people that you want to cheer for fighting each other, and then you sort of there and you're thinking, this isn't a bad match, it's a good match, but it's no heat, it's dead. And that's nothing taken away from the wrestlers. It's your crowd. It's what the crowd wanted to see. So yeah, no,
emotional connection. Wrestling's at its best when you desperately care who wins or loses, exactly. And that is the art of it, is to make people care about that.
Exactly. So,
can I show you my family shirt? I've got some FW. Nostalgia. Look at this. I've worn my family T-shirt. I've got it out of mothballs in the cupboard since Paul Travell nearly burned half to death in front of my eyes at the York Hall in October 2003. But I've got it out, especially for the occasion, Steve. What have you got there? Does that make you feel good?
It makes me feel fat. This used to be really baggy on me. I remember saying, Alex is massive on me. It fits me now. It fits now.
It brings back memories.
It does, yeah. And there's
all those times that you helped the family out. Vendetta, that first blood match. We obviously didn't have a conversation backstage about that beforehand. No, not at all. No
money's exchanged hands at all. Which was, yeah. So there's so many memories, isn't there? And are all of them in the book?
Yeah, the book pretty much goes from Revival to Final Frontiers. So it's a 5-year span, really. And I've called it the Holy Grail because, to me, British wrestling has been on a quest during that time. Almost like Alex Shane would call it like a crusade, almost, And the thing is, whenever I used to go out postering in Morecambe, and you'd show people what we're doing wrestling at the Morecambe Dome, they'd always go, British wrestling? Oh, I remember Big Daddy, I remember Giant Haystacks, Mick McManus, Jackie Pallo. They'd never talk about the new British wrestling stars. They don't know who they are. It's a real shame that, some of the real talent that we've had over the past 10 years aren't household names, like the guys who were on ITV World of Sport. back in the day. Because if you don't have terrestrial TV, you can't create household names. You can't create superstars. So the Holy Grail has been British wrestling's attempt for fame. You know, British wrestling's attempt to sort of come back to prominence. So we will, you know, one day have a group of wrestlers who are as big names as those you know, great legends from, well, it's 25 years ago next year that it was kicked off ITV. 25 years.
1988.
And that's right. So yeah, the Holy Grail is all about our efforts, me and you, Steve, everybody else involved, to bring British wrestling back to prominence. And it didn't always go to plan, but you know, neither did Indiana Jones when he was searching for it either. So you know, it's all about, it's a book. I think it's a really good story because it's ups and downs, it's highs and lows. It's, you know, like a good wrestling show. You know, it's the roller coaster.